Hola a todos. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are here in Santiago del Chile, where today we are going to host the 13th edition of the Enel Focus On. I am Isabella Panizza, the head of the Communication Digital Hub. The Enel Focus On format started 2 years ago, and it was invented, and it was a simple but powerful idea. We really wanted the users to experience the Enel Open Power vision. So the Enel brands become a platform, an enabler. An enabler of what? Of a conversation, a global conversation that we have with speakers and influencers physically here with us, and of course that are following us via our live stream. So far, we have been able to engage with millions of people at each event, and also to connect so many people with the brightest mind coming from different fields related to the world of energy. This is, of course, an incredible achievement, but I still remember when actually, back in Rome 2 years ago, with my team, we were thinking about launching this format. We were a bit scared because it was the first of its kind in the corporate landscape. And we faced our fears with the courage of innovators who want to change something, who want to improve something. And this is also really the common trait of all our speakers that come and join us at the Enel Focus On. There are all of them are bold voices raised aloud to show us a path towards a better future. Today, we are going to discuss about how e-mobility is going to be fundamental and beneficial for the public transportation. And we are going to do this with a lot of people. We have influencers here with us in Santiago coming from 12 different countries. You are going to meet them later. So they come from of course, South America, Chile, Brazil, Peru, Argentina, Colombia, and also from Italy, Spain, Europe, United States, China. So it's a very, very vibrant group of people. And of course, we are going to be guided into the world of the e-mobility. We have brightest minds here today, and we have Monica Araya, Simone Tripepi, and Roberto De Ambrogio. Monica Araya is going to be our keynote speaker, and she's the vice chairperson of the board of the E-Mobility Association of Costa Rica, a state which is aiming to be the very first zero-emission country in the world. She's also the co-founder of the Costa Rica Limpia, a group promoting renewable energy sources and e-mobility, and she also launched the movidaelectrica.org, the first electric mobility platform in Latin America, dedicated for consumer vehicles. She will be joined by Simone Tripepi. Simone is the head of Enel in South America, and by Roberto De Ambrogio. Roberto is our director of communication, and he will wrap up the conversation. The choice of Santiago is a deliberate one. As you might know, tomorrow the city will host the Formula E race, the third one of the 5th season, and is as you know, the electric championship. We are the official power partner of this amazing competition, but from this year as well, we are the official smart charging partner. And this is thanks to the leading technology from Enel. I don't want to say more, I don't want to spoil the conversation. There are many reasons why we are here in Santiago, and Simone will tell you everything about it. So I will leave the floor to Simone, and please enjoy the conversation here in Santiago, and from home, wherever you are, join the conversation and stay with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. So hi everybody. Glad to be here. First time for me being invited in the Focus On, so really hard. But I would quickly show you what e-mobility for Enel is a revolution indeed. I mean, it's a hard word to say, revolution, but indeed this is really a revolution. Enel is part of the group, and the group has started the revolution really far away in the years. You can see how funny and dummy was this vehicle. It's a Panda indeed, it's an electric one. It was up and running in the 80s. So far in the time, we were just already thinking about e-mobility. And the revolution needs to ramp up and be massive. So now we have also NLX deeply involved in it, and the BMW E3 is there showing in Santiago the connection between e-mobility and NLX. I mean, e-mobility is also a matter of being massive if it has to be a really, really revolution. Being massive for Enel means being there with infrastructure, public charger, all over the world. Here are numbers, really impressive. We have a plan for 28,000 public charging points by 22 in Italy, 8,500 public charging in Spain by 23, and 2,300 charging station in Romania by 23 as well. Really impressive. How far is Enel in Latin America from that numbers? Obviously, we are a little far away. But, I mean, coming soon will be presented something. The only thing I could say, we are studying about Chile, we are studying about Brazil. We want to be there with an impressive presence of public chargers as well. Anyway, apart from public chargers, revolution means also involving people. And the way to involve people in Latin America means being there, deeply, deeply involved, trying to benefit people with a revolutionary experience. Public transport in Latin America has to be revolutionary. And this is a way that we found in Chile to put in place a revolutionary business model, putting together private and public efforts with a common aim, with a common vision, and impressive numbers as well, because up to now, Chile is the only place in Latin America with 103 buses, I would say, running, but 102 buses has the logo of Enel, and 100 buses almost ready to be up and running as well during March. Is the country leading Latin America and leading the world apart from China on this revolution in public transport. Public and private coordination is essential for this kind of revolution. We want to be massive, we want to enter with disruptive technologies. How to enter with disruptive technologies? I mean, it's easy indeed. We don't have to invent the wheel other time. We simply have to put together all the knowledge that we have, all the technologies that are available in a place in which people can benefit from this. And this is the places that we entered with our offer. I mean, you see here what we call electro terminal is a bus stop parking when during night the buses, they charge, but they charge in a smart way with some intelligent platform in order to balance the charger and avoiding putting these buses charging all together at the same time, putting under stress all the network that are providing energy to that point. They are doing in a cleaner way, so the energy that is provided to this terminal is coming from renewable sources and is certified by a third-party certificator that actually this is clean energy dedicated to this supply. They also had photovoltaics. I mean, I have to admit that this photovoltaic is not to charge the buses. This is supplying the cleaning system of the buses and the other technical services of the parking. And then we bring the technology on the road. I mean, the buses, they have to be up and running on the roads. And on the roads, there are the persons waiting for the new public transport. So being revolutionary, being massive means we enter also in the places where persons are there waiting for the electric buses to come. Bus stops can be intelligent. Bus stops can be smart. So we put in this route of to 12 and 5 kilometers, 40 bus stops with intelligent solutions. camera with video analytics, so to collect all the data, not only for security, but also to improve the management of the fleet of the buses, times, congestions, all these kind of things. Advertising screens, both for publicity and for messages, real-time information to the clients and to the users, and also what is, as everyone can experiment, the need of USB to charge our mobile phones, Wi-Fi to be connected. So waiting for a bus can be done in a revolutionary way. And this is part of the e-mobility. The e-mobility revolution doesn't end with buses and batteries. It should come to the cities as well, and should be a revolution disruptive. And Enel is in the disruptive point of this revolution, being part of the Formula E, as we understood, and being the main sponsor also of Moto E. So bringing together auto and motos to new frontiers in terms of electric mobility. So this is really an e-mobility revolution. I hope I managed to explain why, for Enel, this is indeed a revolution.
Thank you so much, Simone. And now is Monica. The floor is all yours.
Great. So I know some of you, I don't know everybody, but I know you are very enthusiastic. You really believe in this. So clearly the task today is not to persuade you, because you have been persuaded. You'll be tweeting like crazy. But we do have people watching, and I do think that is one of the tasks today, to get people curious, to capture their imagination so that they don't think this is something that will come to their lives in 10, 15 years. It's something that will happen to them much faster than they even imagine. So we're going to talk about the present, and I chose that word deliberately because I don't know if you have noticed that sometimes when you talk about electric mobility, they talk about the future. Oh, this is going to happen in 10 years, 15 years. Keep doing this thing, but it's not ready yet. So I chose the word present because this is happening now, and this is happening in this city, and I'm very excited to be in Chile because I have been here many times, and I am from Costa Rica, but this is like what I call a cousin country because we want Chile to succeed. You don't have to be Chilean to want Chile to succeed. So obviously, we could talk for hours and hours. I could talk for hours and hours, believe me, but I can't. So what we're going to do now is just 3 basic things. We're going to look at some numbers where we are now. They are very impressive. 2, I want to show visuals because that is what's happening now. Real life in real buses, not in labs, not in academia, in some theoretical class, in real life. And of course, I want to end with some points about why we are very optimistic about this, but also highlight some of the barriers because we have to talk about what we need to do better. And then I thought carefully about a question that I want to ask you so that we trigger a conversation because the whole point of this is not for me to talk, it's to trigger a good conversation. The starting point is something that has surprised even electric vehicle experts because the electrification of buses is going faster than the experts imagine. Many people thought it would be cars first and then buses, but it went around, which is a good thing because then it affects a lot of people. So, and I use the word revolution too, because this is not a change or a slow transition, it's a revolution and it's great, but of course, we're excited, it's scary for some people, and it's very, very important for us to think about the fact that much of this revolution is about buses and much of this revolution has to deal with China, because that has allowed us to tell a very different story. I'm not going to get into all the numbers, but the image speaks for itself. If we were giving a talk about electric buses in 2011, the story would have been very tiny. And look at 2017 is 100,000 buses in one country only. And of course, the bigger story is not just for China, it's for us because costs go down. I don't know, have you seen this before? Because when it came out, this headline, it went around, it created a lot of noise, good noise. Because yes, we are getting to a point where we can start saying that electric buses are going to have an impact on oil demand. And that gets into a different space. And we're not going to talk about oil. But what triggered the imagination of a lot of people on Twitter was the fact that China was adding 9,500 electric buses per week. And that was the equivalent of London's entire bus fleet. So you can imagine what that did to a lot of people in Europe, because I didn't tell you this, but I live in Costa Rica and I live part of the year in Amsterdam, so I have one foot in each continent. And of course, when I'm there, I noticed that some people thought the big revolution of buses would happen in Europe. But as far as we are concerned, we're good, because this is good for the costs. Another important thing to remember is that we already know how many barrels of diesel we replace every time there is 1,000 buses, electric buses somewhere. And the more we have the story and the numbers, the more we can go around in countries and cities and say, this is good for economic growth because we save money by not spending it on diesel. So one of the things that we have to make sure we do is to, of course, talk about technology and consumers and win the hearts and minds, but it's very important to bring with us economic arguments so that we don't sound like people who just love technology. So we bring very good numbers to the table, because in 2016, the battery was about 26% of the price of a bus, and now it's going to be around 8%. The more we demand the buses, the more the price will go down. And of course, there are some conservative numbers saying that unsubsidized upfront costs will be on equal basis by 2030. But this will change country by country. And what we have seen in Chile is that things are going pretty well here from an economic perspective. We'll see some numbers very soon. So how many of you were surprised when you heard about the 100-bus story in Chile?
Well,
yeah,
all of us.
All of us.
Well, except Simone, perhaps.
Simone always knew. No, but it is a surprise leader, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because I've always believed in Chile. I've been here many times. The point is that the scale of deployment was very surprising for a lot of people. So let's look at that story, because the future, that distant future, you know how people talk about how this would happen in 15 years, is happening here, right now. So this week, I went to a meeting. So I actually filmed this with my phone. So this is not, something that I found from YouTube. This is real life in Santiago de Chile in January 2019. And it's important to play it and share it and take it to people who still think this is not proven technology. You would be surprised how many conferences I've been to where even the bus experts explain to me that it's not ready. So that's why I filmed this, and I will be putting a lot of this in my country and many places wherever I go, because it's another argument in the past was, oh yeah, Monica, but you know what? You live in Amsterdam. So that's not Latin America. So ubicate, that's how we would say in Spanish. So now telling the people that were skeptical that this is happening in Latin America is a very powerful argument. So let's just review very quickly the numbers. So 100 buses launched in December in Santiago, BYD buses, bought by Enel, leased by Medbus, 250 kilometers in range, 81 passengers, 12 meters of happiness, 12 meters, and about 4 trips per day. Have you seen them inside? Okay, they're great, aren't they? So when you go inside, one thing I really liked is that they have very positive messages. So when you're holding, because you have to stand up, and not everybody will be sitting. So when you're holding yourself, what you see is what you see at the bottom. Each bus is about 33 It replaces the emissions of about 33 combustion engine cars on the road. So I think that is a very empowering message. I also wanted to capture the fact that it's already operating in 3 lines. So this is no longer a pilot. We'll review the pilot because the pilot was very important. But the point is that, as you saw from the video, it's already normal for some people to take it every morning. So let's review that bus that I showed you is 516. You know how many people use that? 127,000 people. So think about the fact that people in Santiago are having an electric experience that some people in Europe and the US are not having. Can you think? I mean, think about the fact that these people are already experiencing the advantages with no noise, no gas, no, a lot of benefits. We'll see what they said when they were asked. And they operate throughout the day. So another point is they are not operating like from 9 to 10, because it's a pilot. It's throughout the day. So this was very important. So and this is the interesting part. It went from 2 to 100. So it wasn't like 2, 11, 23, 42. It was 2 to 100. I think that is also an amazing story. It's important to have results, because I've been talking to a lot of people and I asked them, when did you become convinced? When I saw the numbers. Some people will be convinced because of the environmental benefits, but some people will only be convinced when they see the hard numbers. In summary, they traveled around 100,000 kilometers since 2017. They are more efficient. And I highlighted in red the numbers, because we should make sure we have the numbers. For every kilometer in Chile, the operational cost is, in US dollars, around 11 cents versus 45 cents when you have a diesel bus. So in other words, they are not doing this just because of altruism or because there's a climate COP or because it's good for the planet. This is good for the company, and it's going to keep getting better. And the cost of energy is around 76 less compared to the cost of diesel. So the point of this image is not to get into all the details because we won't have time. We could do that in the coffee, and there will be a lot of materials. But think about how extraordinary it is to go from 2016, Enel, BYD, Municipality of Santiago, thinking about one bus so that people could see it, that it could be free, to 100 integrated in lines. So one of the key questions we all have to ask ourselves is, how did this happen and why? So what we see is that the 2 buses in 2016 delivered a lot of this data and shook the system because one operator really decided to understand the details, the economics, the opportunity, instead of burying the head on the ground and say, this is not happening, we still have to stick to diesel. They didn't do that. So one of the things we should do is to actually tell a lot of the people involved in this story to tell the story, so that people understand why it happened. Of course, the government came into the story, the ministry, and they went to China because they wanted to actually understand how the buses were built, how many days it took, and that was also, in my view, very important, trust. You have to trust that your partners are serious, that technology is serious. And then in 2019, they set themselves a hardcore deadline, and they met the deadline. I think you beat the deadline for 2 days, right? You said 15th of December, and they launched it on the 13th of December, which is to be noted. You know how it is with deadlines. So, and then the other point is a separate point, but in addition to the 100 that are operating, you have 100 in storage somewhere in Chile, so by March there will be 100 more, which makes Chile even more impressive. This is how it looks inside. This is not my photo, but the photo, I was there yesterday, and one of the things that you notice is that they even took time to do seats that you can actually, that are comfortable. So there is no trade-off between comfort and the other benefits. It's spacious. It has a lot of things for the user, so you can charge your phone. But guess what? What do you think was the one thing that a lot of people celebrated about the buses? Because it's not that intuitive. It's summer. It's hot. Yes. Love it. People love that. And I thought this was another interesting way of getting people excited, because you have this evolution of buses in Chile, and you can see how in 40 years you got from something like that, where it says Maipú, to something extraordinarily exciting. Is 21st century, is good, is modern. So the pictures of these are important because people feel proud. They feel excited about their city and their country. So that's very important. It's not just an environmental or climate or transport story. Again, it's very important to ask the users. One of the things I noticed in a lot of debates, they for some reason ask all the skeptical experts. I don't know why. Why don't you pass the microphone to a person who loves the bus? You know what the driver told me? I said, "Are you happy with the bus?" The driver. And she said, "I love it." Not "I like it," "I love it." So we need that person on TV saying that, instead of somebody who says, "This is not ready," because the person doesn't take buses, right? So all these benefits led to a very good evaluation, 6.3 out of 7 points in the evaluation. And the operator records fewer free rides, because some people are too smart and don't want to pay, so it decreased a bit. So that's good. And I could not help myself. I had to show this tweet. For those of you who speak Spanish, it's pretty clear, but for those of you who don't, this person says, "I just took the electric," this is this week, right? "I just took the electric bus, and then I transferred to the metro," which is brand new metro line in Chile, and she says, "Todo muy ocde," which means it's an upgrade because the OECD countries are wealthy countries. So I thought it was, and she took the time. Look at this. Look at what this is doing to people. She took the time to do a nice photo, to highlight the charger, and then of course the message, be kind, which is at the top of the photo. This is good. It's people telling the story. It cannot be just governments and companies telling the story. And this is a woman who I interviewed yesterday at the electro terminal. She loves the air conditioning. She loves that when it drives, it's so fast. Many drivers got a certificate from the University of Chile, we learned, and they took pride in that. They were so excited that somebody took the time to explain the technology to them and gave them a certificate. And of course, the other thing we were told yesterday is that women are entering the space. They want to drive this, and this is very important because they are very excited. So this is a good story. We have to tell good stories. Very quickly, the two electric terminals, there is no way I can communicate to you how exciting it is to see an electro terminal, the first one ever in our region. We can put photos. I can tell you, you have to see it, because you have never seen one. It's always good to see something for the first time. The first one that we visited is in Peñalolén. It's 63 charging points. The second one is in Maipú, 37 stations, and it's operated by the Metbus company with support from 24/7 BYD plus Enel infrastructure. Again, it's amazing. I have never seen this, and I think we should do tours. In my country, we do tours of coffee, how it grows, and they are packed. We should do this.
Tours of buses
Tours
is amazing.
Yeah, tour of a bus.
The
Yeah,
opposite.
exactly. No,
You
but
do
why
it
not?
by bus. You can tour the bus.
Exactly.
But
Okay.
actually, they are.
Yeah, no.
We are receiving visitors from Argentina, from Peru.
There were visitors from Argentina yesterday, which I thought was brilliant. But
we are also going soon to teach to scholarships.
Excellent. We in Costa Rica did a festival, and we actually put kids. We don't have as many buses, unfortunately, but it's amazing when the kid discovered that this doesn't have an exhaust pipe. The mufla. It stays there in their heads. Because then when they see one, they are like, oh, why do we have this? It doesn't make sense. So the other thing I wanted you to look at when you look at this picture is think. Just think of the difference this is making for the people living around the electro terminal. Because if this were diesel, you know what would happen with the smell, with the noise.
The noise. Yeah.
So this is also an experience that will change the life of all the people living around here. And that's also very transformational. And of course, there are many people. I mean, there are champions, and then there are early adopters, and there are people that will come to this from different angles. We will review some of these angles. But I think this is a very important story also because many people who didn't work on transport but work on electricity are coming to this. Others didn't work on energy or transportation, but they are working in mining. Others happen to like economic growth. So all of these people are coming together, and many of them like technology. This is a photo of the latest meeting. But the point here is that there is a commitment to work with the private sector. So it's not just, because people always ask, is the private sector or the public sector? Is both. Plus users. That would be the third leg. Very quickly, because there are Chileans here who can tell the story. But the point of this is to capture that in addition to the 100 buses, Chile has this really good situation right now. Look at Chile. You are from Chile. You're really, we have to tell the story. It has solar, it has copper, it has lithium, and we don't need to get into all the details. But the point is that this is a story that will be about Chile, but it's also Latin America, and it's also about emerging economies being more confident. It's not like 20 years ago where we were like catching up, asking for aid. This is a story that is coming with a lot of very good numbers. So it's numbers. It went, for example, from 5% share of renewable power to 18% in just a few years. And the numbers, I leave you with the numbers, but the point is that every time you see before and after, you see a good story. Solar is critical because Chile will have to have cleaner electricity. It needs to go faster in that transition. So hopefully electric mobility will push the renewable agenda. Many people want Chile to be cleaner when it comes to electricity. 2, good news for Chile, because the more electric vehicles, the more buses, the more copper. So then you see the numbers, and then of course the question is, how do you do and turn this into a good story? Jobs, investment, lithium. Some people are saying that Chile is, will be the gold standard for lithium. Corfo, the investment agency, is definitely joining this. So good story. But again, the world has many good stories. So it's not, Chile is one of the most exciting, but I wanted to share with you. As I said, I live part of the year in Amsterdam. So this is also with my phone. I was with the suitcase. And I really, because I do a lot of this for people who get excited and unbelieve. But look at this, the bus from the airport. This is Schiphol. And then I turn around and look, these are the taxis, all electric. Because the airport decided that if you want to get a taxi when you get out, well, you can take a bus or you can take the taxi. But if you're going to take a taxi, those taxis that come here better be electric, which is a very good idea. Good numbers, don't need to go through them, but the point is Amsterdam has decided all the buses will be electric. Not 3 or 4, all of them. So they are sending the message. In fact, even the boats for the canals are going electric. So it's a very electric story. This one is very important in my view because probably is the most, this red bus from London is probably the most known bus in the history of buses. The fact that this is electric and is from China, I think, tells you a story of the 21st century, tells you how the world has changed. And again, without getting into all the details, the point is the mayor said it's going to go emissions-free. And we're going to retrofit 5,000 diesel buses, and we're going to start somewhere. We don't have to change the whole thing. And they have calculated the impact of they have calculated how much the city will save in diesel and how much this is going to impact diesel imports in the UK, not just London, because this is for London, this is not for the UK. I used to live in Oslo. My husband is from Norway, so I do this too. This is not like the electro terminal, because this is in Oslo city, so you can see them charging, and I think that's an important thing for people to see that this is not science fiction. Oslo is the green capital of Europe this year. You know, they are very advanced when it comes to electric cars. You see electric cars everywhere. It's pretty much approaching a mass market. But the point is they were lagging behind in buses, and now they decided to invest $70 million in 10 years to electrify buses. Finally, there is Los Angeles. You know, it's a very polluted city. Air quality there is tragic. They haven't fixed it. So what I wanted to capture here is that they don't have the largest fleet in the world, but they do have decision to go electric, and other satellite cities are going electric. So this is also it's something we're learning. And I saw it when I saw the Argentinians in the electro terminal, you know, Chileans with Argentinians telling the story of the buses. So this is also happening in other places, you know. Oh, Los Angeles is doing it. Why don't we do it too? So let's start going to our landing point. So electric buses are moving faster than cars. This has been surprising. And this could be even better in a few years. Why? Why do you think this is going to get better? Or why do we think? I mean, first, there is a strong drive to improve air quality. Air quality is becoming such a big topic, even in Europe, because of diesel. Two, decarbonizing of the economy, climate, Paris, all these decisions to do climate targets is a very important point. Maybe this is not important for people doing transport, but it is there. Tackling congestion. I mean, how many of you have got stuck in traffic and then you call and say, you know, it's like, I'm not going to make it, it's terrible. And of course, there is all this world around creating smart things. Smart, hopefully smart people too, but you know, smart homes, smartphones, and smart computers, going for renewables, digitalizing the economy, vehicle-to-grid integration. So let's review some of them, because the point here is not to go over all the details, is to say why we think this could be even bigger. Air quality is a big problem. And what I wanted to highlight here is that what I see is a lot of before, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you would have climate discussions and air quality discussions, and they were completely different people. So now they are becoming, you know, not totally integrated, but health is what is coming to join this. So if you don't want to talk about climate, fine. Let's talk about health. So I put this logo on the left, because it really captures what's happening. You know, Moms for Clean Air. I want to protect my kids' health. And of course, then they become interested in electric cars. And then on the other hand, you have a lot of scary numbers. 9 out of 10 people around the planet do not breathe good air quality. So this is not just Santiago or New Delhi, it's everybody pretty much not having the best air quality. And I really love the new generation, because they are not having it. I mean, think about it. They know that we are polluting their future. So anything we can do to empower kids, I think we should do, because they are amazing. And they know that this is happening. Don't need to get into the discussion of electric vehicles. I know we have some experts here. I see Tom here. But the point is, you don't want to end up in a city that has electric buses and all the cars are running on diesel, right? So you also need to do taxis, fleets for tourism. And again, China is forcing might force some of the automakers to do it. So we need to keep an eye on China. And of course, the bans on diesel. Have you been tracking that? You know, when you put a deadline and you say you will not be able to import a diesel car, even in Costa Rica, there is a young congresswoman, Paula Vega, who is putting a bill so that in my country, starting 2013, you cannot import gasoline, petrol cars. If it passes, it's going to be one of the first ones in developing countries. Decarbonization, I used to work as a negotiator, so I'm very aware of the whole thing that is happening around the Paris Agreement and how we need to go faster. So electrification is in the actual scientific debates. If you want to be serious about climate action, you have to electrify, not just transport, but industry too. And in the work I do with citizens, we use this a lot because we have to come as consumers, as citizens, we have to go and say in the marketplace, do I want to be here or here? When I buy things, do I support this economy or that economy? When I support a mayor, do I want a person who is going to push for diesel and more of the same, or do I want change? And what we have seen, again, in our work in Costa Rica is that our best allies are children. They are the ones who start doing this to the father, like, why do we have to have this? I want you to change, and so this is something we need to keep saying is winnable. This is not as far as we thought. And then, of course, because of congestion and because this is so time-consuming, is so people become so aggressive. That around consumption, around congestion, there is this really good message. We need cities for people, not just cars, and this is happening in a lot of cities. And what the point here is, we have allies because some of them are not presidents, they are not ministers, some of them run small cities, but the message is very important. I don't need to change the whole country, but I can change my city. We see this in India. I can't change India, but I can change a city of 5 million people, incidentally the size of Costa Rica, but it's just a city. But the point is that this is also good for us because many of them are starting to open up themselves to the idea that what the experts told them was not correct. Because sometimes some of them have experts, but the experts are telling them that diesel is the way to go. And that is something that now the Chile story could change. The new energy agenda, and I think many of you from Enel and probably others in the audience could talk for hours about this, renewable, digitalization, smart system, vehicle to grid. This is a picture that captures this new reality because, electric cars is not like an iron or a dryer that just absorbs electricity. It gives electricity back. And this is possible. So I really like when you look at the left, turning your car into an energy hub. So if there is a blackout, you can actually feed into your home. In Amsterdam, there is a place where you can feed into a stadium. So while you watch football, you're charging the stadium from your car, which is great. And then some people even get paid. Again, some of the numbers, but let's just highlight the last part. Electrified buses and cars could displace 7.3 million barrels per day in transportation fuel by 2040. So imagine how much we have to talk about this because this is disruptive. Again, we don't have time to go into details, but I'm sure you have seen this. Many people ask me, when do you think there will be a bus in my town? When do you think I can take an electric taxi? When do you think I'll have an electric car? And I say, think about other technologies, phones, screens. It was expensive, it went cheap or cheaper, and then this is happening. We are where the red line is. So what we see is that many people still talk about this as if we were in 2011. Oh, it's so expensive. It's only for a few people. Mm-hmm. And they haven't adjusted to the times, and we need to help. This is what many of you could do, even that you're influencers. Help people go down this curve and take them and say, we are here. We're no longer in 2011. But, of course, there are challenges. And we have to talk about them because it's not credible to say it's all perfect, it's going to be smooth. Nothing is smooth when you have to do transformations. So first, charging infrastructure, especially in some developing countries, is still a challenge. Why not? I mean, why deny it? But it's like the coming soon. Yeah, very good. Coming soon, yes. It's a movie in the making. 2, there are some concerns about some raw materials, like cobalt in Africa. talk about it. Let's talk about it. Of course, when it comes to Second Life and the treatment of batteries, we need more innovation, we need better ideas, and we need to make sure we open the discussion so there is a portfolio of options and we see and test to see which one is the best one. Fourth, incumbency. People will resist this. This is in human nature. People resist change. And doesn't mean we have to stop. But we have changed the world. You know, when it comes to smoking, there was a time where you could smoke inside a plane, in the theaters. You could smoke in front of a child, and it was acceptable. But it's better to talk about it, and also, in some cases, even plan for this transition. You know, if you are working as a mechanic, and if you work in a gas station, what do you think you feel when you hear somebody like me talking? Fear. What is going to happen to my job? Well, we have to talk about this. And finally, and this is something that we don't talk enough about, behavioral dynamics. We need to understand how the mind works, because there is evidence that says that if you have a belief or a thought, and I confront you with facts, many people even become more entrenched in their idea, even with the facts. So we have to do more, and that's why I think all of us should talk about not technology or transfer, it's an experience. When you look at the user and they talk about the bus, they don't say the bus or this or that. It's the experience. The electric experience can help us with this final point. And I wanted to end up celebrating the fact that the world's largest climate summit is going to happen in this country in a year. There's 20,000 people at least coming. And this is a great opportunity for the country, of course, but for us who work in electric mobility, this is the best timing, because now you'll have people talking about climate change solutions, not just problems. So we have to help people talk about solutions, otherwise it's all repetitive. And I really like this photo, because this is the minister of Chile at the moment where this was announced, and I like the idea of this being a happy development, not something that is like, you know. So it's a sense of confidence, as I said before. So summary, we are living electric times. I personally think my life is, apart from the flights, which are not electric yet, lives can be electric now. Think about your lives. The only thing when lives are not electric is when you drive with a car. But this is first point, moving faster, much faster than expected, and faster for buses than for EVs, for passenger cars. 2, leadership is happening in very surprising places, not where we expected. Some countries that were supposed to be leaders are actually lagging behind. And 3rd, many drivers are on our side. So it's not just transport or energy people. It's many people coming, I mean, even pilots. We have a pilot here, which is very exciting. So let me tell you what I would like us to discuss if we have time.
Yes, of course.
How do we create discussions in companies, in countries, in cities, where we go for the big idea? We go for the transformation. We leapfrog, you know this word? It's kind of hard to translate in Spanish, but yeah, salto de rana, but and because, you know, what I have noticed in a lot of this discussion is that sometimes the biggest barrier is this incrementalism. No, but let's go from Euro 2 to Euro 3 to Euro 4. Much of the jump in Chile also came because it went from Euro 6 to electric. It didn't go, you know, it's difficult in places where you are still with Euro 2, because then the argument will be, let's go from Euro 2 to Euro 3 for 5 years, and then
we'll see.
So the incrementalism right now is a problem. So let's hear from you about how we tackle this. So thank you so much, and good luck with all your work.
Thank you so much, Monica. It's been amazing. And I would want to say, she's electric, I'm electric too, like the Oasis song. Anyway, I think it's time for us to start the conversation. So who wants to break the ice? Please, Desiree, have you got the microphone? Oops. Okay.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We
Yeah?
want to know where you're
Okay.
from.
Well,
and,
my name is Desiree Jaimovic. I'm from Argentina. I work for Infobae, major news site in my country, and one of the most important also within the Spanish-speaking community worldwide.
Great.
So you mentioned the importance of the association between private and public sector. I'm interested in knowing if the situation, what's the situation like in Argentina, and when, I mean, if that association is working in my country, and when we should expect to get the electric buses in Argentina, or at least in Buenos Aires.
Well, I'm going to say a few things, but I'm sure you want to hear from the actual people in that movie, because it's like a real movie.
We can help a little.
Before we move to Simone, because I'm also asking myself that question, because I want this to happen in my country. And the key point of Chile is that the private sector found a way of financing the buses. So in summary, Enel bought the buses, and the operator pays a lease every month. I mean, I'm summarizing, it could be more complicated, but the essence of the story is that it came from that idea that you had to do it differently. And of course, once they figure out how to do it and all the technical elements, then the government felt the confidence that they could deliver. They went and said, if we ask you to deliver A, B, and C by December, can you do it? Yes, we can do it. So the breakthrough came from the fact that a private actor decided to go and buy 100 buses as opposed to some fund created by the government. But I'm sure Simon can...
Yeah. I mean, if I... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just, as far as I know, and you are going to explain this better, but in Argentina, I think there's a platform now that allows for this kind of agreement between the private and public sector.
I mean, indeed, the agreement between public and private is more easier than we can thought. We shouldn't wait for a formal, official exploitation of several public-private agreements. The Chilean one was indeed driven by private sector, and the public sector, they jump in when they understood it was a no turning back point. So this is actually happening naturally. Now we have the chance that having an example running well, we can formalize, we can standardize, we can learn from Chile some aspects that are critical. Public-private sector, it needs to work properly, that at least from the public sector is given guarantees to the private sector investing that the investment can have a positive benefit. So it is critical, it is the essential point. Private sector has to give to the investor a positive economic result. So the public sector could really help on it. And in Chile, they are helping, guaranteeing the payment of the buses. Apart from that, obviously, and I take the chance to remember that today we actually are hosting in Chile 2 international events. One is the Focus On we are in, and at the same time, in the center of Santiago, we are hosting the Enel Mobility Day, inviting authorities from different countries, from Chile, obviously, from Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, and Peru, discussing together about challenges and opportunities of introducing the electric mobility in the public sector. And actually, from Argentina, we are learning about the experience in Buenos Aires and the experiences that are also already going on in other cities. I may tell you that Buenos Aires is now living a pilot with 8 electric buses, trying to test, to collect data in order to be ready to soon have them up and running in the public transportation of the Gran Buenos Aires. At the same time, a little city nearby Chile, nearby Santiago, which is Mendoza, has already finished a tender for 15 buses that will come, are BYD buses indeed, and they are ready. They are introducing electric mobility. We don't need to wait big cities to introduce electric mobility, but yes, Monica said, we have to look at, teach, and involve cities. Cities are critical. Italy is made by 8,000 municipalities. Look at the opportunity to involve 8,000 municipalities working to put in place really a big revolution. So this is what is happening, and Argentina, indeed, to answer your question, is in it as well. Mendoza, we know Cordoba as well, is in it, and Buenos Aires experimenting these 8 buses running, these 8 electric buses running.
We have another question, just here.
Yeah, more than a question, Monica.
And who you are, where you
who
come
I
from, even if we know you.
I'm Mr. Simone's Giuseppe's chauffeur. Well, I'm Eliseo Salazar. I'm an ex-Formula 1 driver, and now I'm the promoter of the Formula E race here in Chile. And a little bit on that, I started working on this literally 6 years ago. In April, it's going to be 6 years ago. When you chose some graphics there, you know, in 2012, you know, we were very little. And when you were talking to people about electric mobility, I felt like I was in a sect, you know, like, yeah, we were like 10 people, you know, in the world, you know, talking about this. But now, obviously, it went more mainstream. But not answering, but you ask, you know, how do we leapfrog this? And I don't think there's a silver bullet. I don't think it's just one answer.
Yeah.
I think we have to, all of us that we live so much in this, you know, we have to be like urban guerrilla, you know, do work on many fronts. And obviously I'm on the sport, entertainment front, you can call it. But even though Formula E is just a sport, if we can call it just a sport, I think it brought a lot of attention to electric mobility. Here, you know, one of my friends here is Davor, who is a reputed journalist here in Chile, and I think he can agree that 2 years ago, nobody talked about electric mobility. It took us 4 years to get the FIA to bring Formula E here to Chile, stressing all the points that you mentioned, you know, that we have more copper than anybody, that we have lithium, et cetera, et cetera. But once, you know, the race was going to be here, you know, 6, 8 months before, everybody started talking about electric mobility. So in that sense, you know, well, I'm defending strongly my part of the deal, you know, the sport. So we have to work on sport. I mean, if nobody can have a Formula E race, because obviously it takes a lot of effort and organization, but do, you know, maybe smaller events, you know, on electric mobility. Show the car. You said it that, you know, I've raced every kind of racing vehicles in the world. You know, I race Indy 500, 24-hour Le Mans, I have rally, Formula 1, and I would never go back to driving an internal combustion engine car. I mean, this.
That's very good.
Yeah. I drive a BYD car, and I can beat anybody on the road. You know? I don't go faster than the limit, but you know the torque. I mean, I don't want to go technical, but once you go into an electric car, you know,
you don't want to go back.
So that's the kind of things we have to do. We have to stress that to people. We have to do little events. We have to do hopefully big events. We have to do what Simone did so well here in Chile. You know, association between public and private. We have to start showing the people. So I don't think there's just one answer, but we have to work on small details and also talk to the government, talk to the cities. He's going to be in trouble because he said Mendoza is a small city, you know. I hope you don't go there. But we have to work in many ways. I'm surprised sometimes, you know, I meet people, you know, with an important background, people, you know, that have degrees, and they said, well, do you think this is going to work? I mean, I don't think it's going to, I mean, it's working. I mean, it's just, as you know, I like some of the phrases you mentioned, you know, this is not the future. This is the absolute present, and imagine it, well, you know better than me, but in 20 years' time, it will be forbidden in so many countries, the sale of the other cars. So it will happen a lot sooner. I always say, you know, we are at the point like 110 years ago when we went from, I wasn't there, by the way, but when we went from horses to cars, you know. But we don't realize it because we're living the moment, you know. No. You don't realize. And going to Chile specifically, I think, you know, for the first time in many revolutions, we're going to be part of it. We were not part of the industrial revolution, we're not part of the digital revolution, but the electric mobility, we already
Good
are.
point.
We have all the key elements, so I'm very proud in that sense. I'm happy for all the, we give you a big welcome to you guys, that come from other countries. And I think we have to keep working. It's not going to be easy. I like one of your points, that people is reluctant to change. I know friends, say, oh, how about the noise? I don't care about the noise, The noise is one element of racing, but there's so many other nice factors. So let's keep working, doing, urban guerrilla every day.
Thank you.
Great.
Can you pass the microphone? Thank
Oh,
you.
right.
No? Oh, okay.
It's working. Hi, Monica.
Yeah, it's this.
You
Hi,
can
Monica. I'm Leonardo from Brazil. I work for Tecmundo, one of the biggest tech news websites on Brazil. And I have a question for you. I think that electric mobility is pretty much proven by now. We know it works. We know it can be applied to practical means. But how does it go with green power or renewable power? Because some countries have a lot of, I see, a lot of green power on their energy mix, but others don't. So that may be a problem in some sense. How do you explain this for us?
No, that's a very good question because it comes out a lot, and there are two things. One is clearly we have to push for renewable. That goes without saying. With or without electric mobility, you have to go renewables. But the second point is more subtle because it's about the fact that you have studies, scientific studies that look at this life cycle of an internal combustion engine running, with fossil fuels, and you have the life cycle of an electric car with renewables, and also with electricity that is not yet renewable entirely, for example, in Chile. And even in the case of places where you run this with electricity that is not yet renewable 100%, you still see a considerable advantage. And so the point is that we need to bring facts to the conversation because a lot of the discussions, for example, that point has been used. Some people bring that because they heard it, and I think we should have time to discuss them and give them the numbers so that they see the graphs. But on the other hand, we have heard this debate, this argument being made by incumbents who don't want change. So for example, in my country, where electricity is 100% renewable, or 99%, but 100% renewable 300 days a year, you still have people making the case that you should not change to electric mobility because it's bad for the environment, because maybe we don't have enough electricity. So I think we have to turn it around in the discussion, rather than being discussions in our public debates like, oh, but what about the battery? What about the coal we still have in the system? We should turn around and say, we're going for this. How do we make it happen? What are the top 3 things we need to do well to make it happen? So that discussion has the energy around, let's do A, B, and C, and let's push for more solar, which is, I hope, the case in Chile. And now that the electric mobility story is so big that there will be more energy coming to the impulse for renewables. So I don't think we are right now in 2019 in a position to argue that we have to first go renewable and then do electric mobility. I think we have to go for this. The technology is proving it has air quality benefits, noise, savings, and in parallel, push for more renewables because the benefits of doing it already are pretty big.
May I add something? Actually, if you take the picture right now, and you want to make a comparison between the gasoline, the internal combustion engines, and the electric one, you make a picture of the top of innovation of the industrial combustion, which is the Euro 6 at the moment. We don't know how far can go beyond that point, and you are at the lower level of electric efficiency motors, meaning batteries, they are improving not only in cost, they are improving in efficiency, they are improving the autonomy, which obviously led to a better metrics of efficiency for all the ecosystem of electric mobility. And we are in a decarbonization path of the electricity production. It is a fact. It is declared by several countries. We as Enel have declared our decarbonization pattern. So this is a fact. We should be able to take the picture and to look after what is going to happen soon. From one side, there's nothing more that could happen apart from the Euro 6. From the other side, we have a lot of interesting things still to happen in order to be ready to massify the electric mobility.
So, in a sense, we don't have to wait to our energy mix to be green or renewable to invest in electric powered buses and cars. You say they can go together. Right?
Yeah, well, that's what Chile is doing because their electricity is not yet 100% renewable. So yeah, it would have been tragic if they had waited. They did it. And
I mean,
they are getting there.
and you already said, even given the actual mix of production, the efficiency, and the fact that the pollution provided by the ecosystems of an e-bus, an electric bus, is cleaner than the same things with the combustion engine.
Thank you.
Who is next? Okay.
Hi, I'm Tom Malagany from the U.S., New Jersey. I work with Plug in America to help train dealers how to better sell electric cars, and I'm also a staff writer for Inside EVs. So to follow up on the question we had earlier, as far as getting all of the stakeholders involved, which I think is really one of the biggest things that we can do to help leapfrog the technology, is getting the public sector, the private sector, and utilities involved. One of the great stories out of what's happening here in Chile with the 100 buses, in my opinion, is that Enel made this happen and financed the buses. Without that, there might not be buses here right now in Chile. And I think those type of public-private partnerships are going to be essential to leapfrogging and not having incremental increases in electric mobility. What could we be doing across the globe to better foster these type of partnerships? Because I really believe that that's going to be the key to accelerating e-mobility in buses and cars for infrastructure, for instance. You know, we can't just rely on the public sector to install infrastructure, coast-to-coast, nationwide infrastructure. We have to get the utilities and the public sector involved in this. What could we be doing to do a better job at that?
I mean, I can answer in two different ways. If you look at the experience of the 100 buses, and if you, actually you're right, Enel, without the financing effort of Enel, probably we wouldn't be here sitting discussing about 100 buses. But anyway, and I remember, it's not 100, actually are 200, and the other financing effort has been done by our competitors. Anyway, actually, we, both Enel and the others, we found a really interesting place to put our investment at disposal. I mean, guaranteeing, they have been guaranteed by the government in order to be sure that the payment could go back to the investor of Enel. This is easy. This is really, really easy. It doesn't need any regulatory revolution, neither a political decision. This is a matter of how the structure of the public transport system can allow to give priority to some kind of investment. This is from the technical point of view. Then we go to a more general answer that I can provide you. Here in Chile, and somehow also Monica in their keynote speech, she mentioned, Here in Chile, we had an experience. We have here Alberto. Alberto is the president of an association, which is called AMECH. It's an association of several different, completely transversal entities who really want to push e-mobility onward. And this is made by some institutional entities, universities, energy sector, yes, car manufacturers. So I mean, Pablo, if Alberto could really talk about this, because also this is a way to push public-private sector. When they sit together at the same table, with the same level, there's no standard, there's nobody on top of the other, discussing about how we should change things and push hard to move faster.
Simone introduced me, and then let me tell you a few stories about our relationship with Enel. Enel said we need to push so strong the electromobility. And I remember when I met Simone was in the middle of 2017, and we are in the Enel office, and he said, stop the pilots, just do it. I remember that. And yes. Now it's 2019, and we have 200 buses. And this is the style, you know. We should to break all the rules. We need to talk in a different ways. We need to maybe to join to the collaborative economy. For instance, I'm also a head of Auto Club of Chile, and we belong to FIA. And 150 years ago, the FIA or the auto clubs are developed to push and develop the automobiles. And now, 115 years after, we are trying to disincentive the use of the cars, you know? Maybe some people say we are shooting on their feet, but not. We are feeling and we are thinking and we are believing in the future, and we need clean air, and we need to smart cities. And when we need the smart cities, we need smart drivers, you know? And then this is different. This is not only a line, you know? Maybe it's a line, but it's really be alterated, because we need champions like Simone. For instance, we sit here in Santiago 2 years ago. Now we have 200 buses. This is the best example to this.
I can add to that, because I really want to hear from others, but I really relate to this point. So in Costa Rica, for example, we don't have the 100 buses because it's a different story. But we did pass the first electric mobility law in Latin America. There is a decarbonization plan that will be launched. The president drives electric. There are all kinds of good stories. Maybe not at the scale that we need, but the good stories are emerging. So there is no formula, but I can tell you that the three things have to happen to get a breakthrough. So first, you have the vision, right? You have to say, this is the vision, but you have to win credibility, and you have to have a plan. So you have to sit down and have a plan. In this case, they have the business case. In the case of Costa Rica, we had this plan for showing that Costa Rica could go electric, because the electricity is renewable and it's small and the distances are not so big, and this is so we have a study that gave us credibility. But the technical aspect is not enough because of all the barriers, the behavioral barriers, the incumbency, all of that. So then you really have to have a coalition of champions. And champions are hungry people. You can't help it's people who can't help themselves. I mean, I've been meeting some of these people in Chile. It's the same in Costa Rica. It's the same in Belarus. It's the same attributes. You want to do it, and let's do it. Let's stop talking about it. Let's do it. And this coalition or alliance or partnership, doesn't matter how you call it, has to be a combination of people in the private sector, and some of them are coming from companies where they have to fight. Others come from the public sector, and they have to fight the case in their governments or in their ministries. You have to have users. Some academics are allies, others you don't want to give them a microphone because sometimes they are too far behind. But the point is this alliance is critical. And I have been meeting the people, and it's not like you formalize an alliance but you have to have it. So for example, we also created the Association of Electric Mobility in Costa Rica, and now we exist. Now the media comes to us and says, what do you think? Before, they would go to the importers of cars, and the importers used to say, no, we don't believe in this because the batteries are a problem. And that was the end of the conversation. So that's two, the plan, the champions. And then the third one is related to what Eliseo said, winning the hearts and minds. And that's where you do the festivals. We don't have Formula E because people want it, but maybe. Oh, it's on TV. It's recorded now. But you have to have that third leg. The plan, the champions, and the hearts and minds, the festivals, videos, people, consumers, and you have to make it visible, and you have to have to be the happy camp. We have to be the ones bringing solutions. We can't be the ones, as I call problemólogos, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem. We have to be people who say, you have a problem with air quality, this can help. You have a problem with congestion, this can help. Mind you, these buses are also beautiful because in Latin America, public transportation is considered ugly, right? Visually ugly. So the visual is important. We didn't tell you this, but we learned that in Chile, they even decided to paint them all in red. This is a new decision to make them attractive, but also tell a story that is integrated with the metro. And all these things might be too soft for an engineer who wants to talk about, the batteries, and that's in cluster 1, the plan. But all these things are really important for winning what we call the hearts and minds.
And so, as you remember, even if it feels like a very cozy conversation, but actually we have quite a lot of people that is following us through our live stream. And we have someone that is joining us from the US, Art Baron, and he's actually asking us a question. So we are going to read it now. What industry investments in charging infrastructure and smart grids can help accelerate the widespread adoption of electric mobility vehicles? So I think this is big for you, I think.
Yeah.
It's for the industry. I mean, I'm here representing the industry. It is indeed really, really important to accelerate the widespread. And as you said in my presentation, the few numbers that I gave were numbers about how fast we are going to spread the infrastructure in Italy, in Spain, in Romania, and coming soon in Latin America. This is a point. This is I would say right now this is a critical point for the non-electric driver. The electric driver, they know, and Monica is, myself as well, and Isabella. The first and the most important point of charge to charge their vehicles are in our houses. I am happy when I exit my house, and I find, and also Eliseo is an e-driver, by the way. We are happy if we can find our vehicle charged outside the door of our houses. So this is the point. But since nobody can say that now everybody has an electric vehicle, we should be also ready to answer the anxiety of the non-electric drivers. And obviously, so we have to put all the efforts to make the infrastructure in the urban spaces. Apart from the fact that obviously, if we talk about cities, could be that it is not needed indeed. But if we want to connect cities, we have to put infrastructure and fast or super fast infrastructure on the highways to connect finally an entire country, no?
So in the meanwhile, we are in trend topic in Italy. So in Italy, you are following us. So bye-bye, hello, hello. I also have my kids following me, so I want to say hello to them. So who wants to jump in?
Hello, everyone. My name is Marian Andrei. I'm from Romania. I'm an automotive journalist and a racing driver, as Mr. Salazar. And I embrace e-mobility a lot. Doing car reviews, we tell we get to tell people about how great electric cars are. But my question is if NL will try to implement the same business system, like buying the buses and then lease them to the authorities, to other countries in Europe, maybe, Romania, because you've given it as an example. And also I know that Denmark had like a pilot test with Beat K9, the same bus models, and they had some problems with small uptime and also with running costs because it was like close to €500,000 to buy one in Denmark. So how did the pilot program went? And yeah, if you had any problems during the testing.
Yeah, I can easily answer for the first. I would like to have more details on the second one. But I mean, if you can answer to the first question, actually we are exporting and we are setting up all the details, the informations, the storytelling of the Chilean case to be presented in all the European countries in which we are. Actually, I had the opportunity, and this is critical, this is essential. I mean, I was there interviewing Hector Moya, who is the CEO of Medbus, because he has to answer, be prepared to present it to operators also in Europe, not to professors, neither to only to institutions or political entities. We have to go to the operators in Europe and tell the story from the perspective of the Chilean operator. So we are doing this, and we are starting from Italy, but we have soon a project also for Spain, and obviously Romania, when we are bringing this 2,300 infrastructures. So this is the next step for e-bus evolution. Then, obviously, I can be general. What is the key success factor of the Chilean experience from my point of view? This is a personal point of view. We look beyond the simple technical point of how an electric motor and therefore an electric buses can work or cannot work. Because the Chinese guys, they can tell you that in Shenzhen there are 16,000 e-buses going on right now. So this is not a point. There could be that in Denmark you could have some points or the fact that the importation could be more expensive or cheaper. Is it critical? Is it essential to the development of the e-mobility? No, this is a point in which you have to find the way to avoid and go ahead. Yeah. And sometimes it is important to involve the public sector in it, trying to give incentives or subsidize. The funny thing in Chile, it didn't happen. There is no incentive, but because of the fact that the economic balance, it was proven that was there to be shown, no?
I'm giving the price example because I know we are maybe one generation away from getting electric buses in all major cities. So this is happening. But I'm telling that because last year, actually, the Bucharest authorities, they bought cheaper diesel buses from Turkey, and they had lots of problems, like people got stuck in. So that's why the price is an important point, maybe not in Germany or Denmark or France, but in Eastern European countries or maybe South America, it's a key factor. And also, can they, these Beat K9 buses, can they work vehicle to the grid? Because they store a lot of energy.
I mean, this is also something in which the industry is working on. We have experience on the vehicle to grid, mostly involving vehicles, private vehicles. But actually, the technology and the guys from BYD can answer on it because it's working also to involve buses in the vehicle to grid experience. I mean, look at this picture, and this is an answer to why we should work on it. If you have a blackout, a bus can help an entire building of 30 departments to have the electricity. So if we think at 6,000 buses of Santiago helping the network with a massive blackout, we are experiencing really a different, we are really experiencing a smart city and a different way of living in a big city like Santiago.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Davor Juranovic. I am a journalist working at National TV of Chile, and I have been reporting about public transport since 2005. And this week is very special for us here in Chile. Last weekend, we received a new fleet of electrical buses. So we will have 200 electrical buses running in March in the street of Santiago. And the last Tuesday, we opened a new underground line with new 22 kilometers. Right now, Chile is the longest underground line in the continent, so we are so proud. And tomorrow, we will host the Formula E, and it's a very important event for Chile and for Santiago. 12 years ago, when Chile was looking how to change the public transport in Santiago, we were looking inspirations. And at this moment, we were looking what was happening in Brazil, in Curitiba with Ligeirinho, and also what was happening in Colombia with the Transmilenio in Bogotá. Right now, with the new government, Chile is looking what's happening in London. This is our inspiration. This is the idea of the new government. So my question is, if we are looking to London, we are in the right way to lead the electromobility in the continent, in South America?
I feel very strongly
Monica,
about
it's
this.
for you.
I have thought about this many times because I live in a small country that tends to punch above its weight, so I don't have the small country thing. You know, sometimes we have to remind ourselves in Costa Rica we're so small because sometimes we don't act as if we're small. So there is, for example, right now a president who's 38 who wants Costa Rica to go fossil free. Not carbon, low carbon, is fossil free. The plan will be launched. Nobody has done this. There is no book. Nobody, not Sweden, not Norway, not Denmark. So we, on the one hand, have to be smart and learn from good examples, like Chile is right now our reference. But I think we have, in the 21st century, we really have to now really build with what we have. And we can, because sometimes there is a generation that still expects Europe, somewhere in Europe, to have the recipe. And that world is not there anymore. By the way, Brexit has the UK in such a mess that I don't think we should just be sitting waiting for. Same thing with Germany. People say, oh, but the German know so much, and they say this doesn't work. Well, what if they are wrong? What if? So I think, yes, we have to look for smart ideas, but I think they should come from anywhere. If they come from China, fantastic. If they come from Brazil, fantastic, or Italy. But I do think that nowadays it's us in Latin America who have to say, what if Chile figured out that nobody else had done anywhere else? What if the plan in Costa Rica is very inspirational for a city of 5 million people in India? Some people in India have told me we can't relate to Costa Rica because we're too small, but we have cities of 5 million, and perhaps that city can learn from that. And so my point to you is that, yes, we have to look for good ideas, but we have to move beyond the notion that we are developing countries and that we don't know and that we don't have experts and that all the experts are somewhere else, because that's very disempowering. And I think we have to turn it around and look eye to eye. But I do think that there is one sector, I really want to mention this because it might be the case in your countries. I do think there is one sector in our countries, in Europe also, and in the US, that is scandalously lagging behind, and is the financing sector. Some of these people are sitting there working deals, and they talk about electric mobility as if this is something that comes from a science fiction movie. Because they are so busy with their deals and mergers and acquisitions and buying buildings, financing restaurants, shopping centers, and you talk about this and they are not interested. And one of the things I understood from listening to experts in Chile is that much of this innovation that came out of these hungry people, you know, these champions that wanted to make this work, was the realization that the financing sector was not going to be of any help for financing the buses. So I do think that one of the questions we should be asking is, where is the innovation in the financing sector? Because I don't see it. And it will be very important for all of us to put more pressure on that sector to wake up to this reality, because they have so much money.
So we are just sorry, one moment. We are very happy to have here very famous architect and anchor in Channel 13 here in Chile, Federico Sanchez, who is over there, and he would like to make a question. So Federico,
Thank you.
please.
Where is he? Where is he?
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes, famous architect was fantastic for me. Yes, well, I'm Federico Sanchez, I'm architect, I'm not famous. And I want to take some words of Eliseo, yeah? Because this is about present. This is not about future. And for me, this is the clue of this conversation. It's about inspiration, as Davor said. We have to build a tale, a narrative. We have to put some desire in this issue. For me, this is the clue. As David Bowie said, we can be heroes. We can be heroes. I think that this is the right way to open the gate through the e-mobility. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, we have another question here from
yes,
Italy.
I'm Alessandro Farrugia from Italy. I'm a journalist and a blogger, and I work since forever on the issue of sustainability, environment, energy. We all know all the problems that were created by the fossil fuels in all terms. CO2 emissions in Europe, CO2 emissions from transportation sector are responsible for 27% of the total emissions. And so it's similar in many other countries. Huge impact on the air quality of the cities. So we all know that the e-mobility is essential, is crucial, is important. But as you said, we need a revolution. But a revolution has to be a bottom-up revolution, in my opinion. So it's crucial to mobilize people. As Monica said, it's very important to win the hearts and minds of the people, of the citizens, of the customers. How to do it? That's my question.
Well, we've been doing that, at least in Costa Rica. Is a very important part of the work we do with the association with Costa Rica Limpia that was born 5 years ago to engage people. And if there is a precedent now talking about going fossil free, is because there has been bottom-up work around the idea that is good for people. So there is that. But I think one of the best experiences that I've seen in engaging users is in Norway. Every person who switches to an electric car convinces 3 people on average. They have the largest user association in the whole planet, 65,000 people. So 65,000 people pay an association of users, and they want to keep it as a users association. So that is also very inspirational for us, because yes, you need the private sector and you need the government, but that's not enough. You need the third leg. And I think that's in Latin America a bit underestimated. I have seen so many events where you have the experts, the ministers, some company representatives, and I always say, where is the user association? Why would you bring them? And it's because they are the ones who take loans, they buy houses, they buy cars, or not buy cars, they use buses. So I think one of the points that we have to say again and again and again in Latin America is that users have to start existing in associations, because you have the ones with private sector, they are super important, but you have to have empowered users. For example, now with the buses in Chile, I would think that this is the moment in Chile where you will have something called, you know, the Chilean Electric Users Association or something, so that they start creating their own stories. They go to Congress. You know, we were very active when the Congress was passing the law, because initially there was this argument, nobody cares about this. Consumers are distracted. They don't care. And I say, well, if you ask about climate change or decarbonization, probably they will not have time for that. But if you ask mothers if they care about air quality, they care. Or if you are citizens, if they care about congestion, they care a lot. So it's also, you know, we all have to, not maybe everybody, but I do think people who care about this have to bring that third leg. Because in Norway, for example, when they tried to take away the incentives for electric vehicles, it was the users' associations who came with all the numbers and said to the government, it is too premature to take away this. And it was by working. So you have to inspire them, but they also have to do homework and become professional and, you know, operate like a proper functioning group that has impact in these debates. It's critical.
Do you think that promoting the e-mobility in public transportation sector will help raising the awareness of the people and make cool the e-mobility?
Yes, because if you think about it, the 3 lines in Chile, you know, the 3 lines that are operating in 4 weeks, do you know how many people they move, these electric lines? 1,200,000 individuals. I mean, think of. So it's amazing. If you think about it, this is the key. Those people have to exist and be. We have to turn that into a huge bill. This should be a headline in a newspaper. 1,200,000 people in Chile, passengers, have electric experiences. And this is going to increase, you know. But I think the journalists, and some of you say you're journalists, start bringing users to your programs. Give the microphone to those people, to the drivers, because, again, many people don't use public transport, so they are missing the story, you know, because they are not ever going to be in a bus. So we have to tell the public bus story. Huh? But not the ones in the media.
So we are very lucky today because we have a very, very good audience. We also have the president of BYD by Brazil, Tyler Lee, who I see him with the microphone. So, Tyler, go ahead.
So my name is Tyler. So I think I'm the only person from China for this forum. So I want to answer some question. I see some people like talking about like a smart city. And for like electric bus, and we have some solutions. But firstly, you know, I want to introduce myself. I'm now the operation general manager for BYD in Latin America region. So I'm now based in Brazil. So in Brazil, we already have a factory of the bus chassis. So in May of last year, we won like a monorail project, and it's a big success for us. And for BYD, I think not too many people know BYD, and BYD means like build your dreams. And for our company, we have 4 dreams. Like the first dream is solar panel. We want to use all the energy from solar. And then the second dream is the energy storage system. The third dream is all kinds of electric vehicles. And the fourth dream is the monorail. So for BYD, and we are building our dreams like to like create like a more green, clean, and sustainable like environment in the world, not only in Chile but also in the whole Latin America region. And BYD, we are the leading company for electric vehicles. Like only in 2018, we sold like more than 227 electric vehicles. So we are continue to be the #1 position in the global market in the last 4 years. And for bus sector, until like December of last year, we already delivered 50,000 electric buses. For the Chinese market, you know, for example, the city of Shenzhen, like in 2017, they already like electrify all the buses in the city. So totally it's 17,000 buses. And in 2020, they want like electric all the trucks. They have an ambitious plan. In 2025, they want all the vehicles to be electric. And I think for the whole Latin America region, Chile now is in the leading position. I think we'll continue to be like in the leading position. And to talking about like a smart city and for bus for bus sector, we are now doing one project. I'm not sure if people know one story which happened in the central of China, named the city named like Chongqing. It's half a year ago, when one bus running in the bridge. So I think one passenger he missed the bus stop. He wanted to interfere the driver of the bus, and then the bus lost control. The bus fell down to the river. So the bridge is 75 meters high. So then all the people inside the bus died. So totally 15 buses died in the bus. So it's a heartbreaking story. And another thing is for the city of Shenzhen. So each day there are more than 5 accidents because of mistake driving of the driver. So that becomes the main headache of the bus company. So they ask BYD to find a solution. So now we are working on one project. We call it safety driving. So we put some sensor around the bus. So this sensor will kind of identify the distance between the vehicles. So if the driver have a mistake action of the bus, for example he pressed the pedal for acceleration with a mistake, and then the bus will realize this mistake, will stop the bus. So then I think for the current 100 buses, in the future we can make some modification to put all these sensors inside the bus. I think for the future of the bus, the first step will be electrify. Then the second step will make the bus more intelligent. So that's the work we are doing now. So I think in the future, the last destination for the bus will be autonomy driving. But I think we are still far away from that destination. But some good thing we can put in the future. We can put more function into the bus. So currently we already have Wi-Fi, we have GPS. In the future we can have more APP into the bus, and then this bus will be more connected to the people. So for diesel bus, for the cheap diesel bus, there's no way for them to add this function. So for electric bus, that's the future. There's no way to come back.
Thank you.
Yeah, autonomy driving.
Hi. I am Irene Sternik, Argentine journalist. I write in La Nación and Redacción. I want to ask Simone a problem about the useful life of batteries and second life and the side B of batteries.
Yeah. I suppose you are giving me the ball because we are happy to host here as well Redmeer van der Meer, who is the vice president from Nissan. We, together with Nissan, have been spending a lot of time actually in vehicle-to-grid experience, and also we have some agreements in Latin America working, actually in Brazil right now, for the second life of the batteries. And I know they have a really amazing experience because e-mobility have to be also, we are talking about funny. We cannot, we should avoid to talk about e-mobility only from a technical perspective, but e-drivers have to have fun when they drive their electric vehicles or when they take an electric bus. And they have a really interesting and amazing project. I know is running up actually in Amsterdam with Amsterdam Arena, and is is going to answer to your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes. Sorry, let me introduce myself. Already almost introduced, right? I'm also in Buenos Aires, actually. I'm a Dutch guy, so all the things that were there on Amsterdam and taxi, Schiphol, I know everything, right? And I actually, 3 years ago, I came to Latin America, and before that, I was in Nissan Europe and Switzerland, but also arranging that arena and all these taxi discussions and e-mobility discussions in Europe. And the thing, and I see a lot of that happening here, people are seeking certain specific problems. There's a problem here, there's a problem there, there's a problem there, there's a problem there. And actually, when Leaf started 2010, first electrical vehicle, there was even more problems than this, because already here we can show some showcases. This is working there, this is working there, this is working there. At that time, everybody said, an electrical vehicle, you must be completely stupid, because we got petrol, we got, everything works. So we actually had this conversation, and that's what I see here as well, this holistic approach into, okay, we can build a car, but we need energy, and actually it's not a car, actually it's a moving battery, so we got energy storage, so what do we have 1,000 of those, and what can we do with that in the environment? So based upon that, we started discussing with all the governments in Europe at that time, and also with the electricity companies, all the electricity companies in Europe, and also other companies who wanted to do something in the future. And the questions were always about, oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, oh, this doesn't work. Yes, this is the data, this is the data, this is the data. I think we are here now today are past all of that. We sold 380,000 Nissan Leafs in the world. We know all their batteries, what they are doing, what their data is, how far they are, how far they not are, where are problems, what is a problem. And we have these, let's say, 8 years of putting these changes into the battery and the car in order to improve that. So now with the discussions with Enel and also about stationary storage and about the Amsterdam Marina, we know exactly that actually the battery will outlive the car. A car normally has an economical value of maybe 13 years or something like that, right? So yes, it still dries afterwards, it's not a problem. But actually for a battery, it outlives that 13 years easily. Depends on how many times you quick charge, obviously. But nobody will do a quick charge around the world. Some people try it. Of course, the journalists have tried it and see what happens when you go into that stage and what happens to the battery. We all know what is going to happen to the battery when you do that. So normal usage pattern of customers, was you look at customers, also that came up, right? Listen to the customer. Customer is driving and basically battery easily outlives that percentage. We put the warranty up, I think 80% of battery capacity, 8 years, something like that, but it will live much longer than the car. That's why actually, before we started with making a car, we thought about what do we do with the batteries after the car is gone, because we got a piece of metal and plastics, and we got a battery, which is actually quite useful, and then started discussions with Enel. Vehicle to grid, you can do with non-movable batteries and movable batteries. But also stationary storage, like in the Amsterdam Marina, where you can actually power up Amsterdam, part of Amsterdam, if you want to. And that's exactly where we are going. So think not today, tomorrow, or what happened, but think, I don't know, 2030. What will be the society in 2030? People will not want to walk on the streets with a lot of noise and a lot of pollution gases in the cities for sure. So it's going to be banned. That's clear. So how do we make then that grid available at that time? So we maximize and utilize the tools that we have. Tools like a vehicle to grid charger, tools like a car, tools like a bus, tools like anything we have around. And based upon that, let's build that structure today, now, instead of thinking that we will have a problem tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I add something? Actually, if we go back to the technical, since I'm an engineer, I work in Enel, so something technical we could say. Actually, second life of the batteries is indeed an opportunity for distribution companies, as you may understand. If they are not useful for vehicles, yes, they are useful for the balance of the network, because they are still capable to get and provide energy. So we are using the batteries which are left from the vehicle to be packed. And for instance, you may imagine how important it is if I tell you that we launched a few weeks ago in Peru, plant of Ventanilla, a battery storage package of 14 megawatt. So this is a reality as well. Batteries are now part of the generation and distribution sector, and batteries which are not yet useful for vehicles, they can be used with this second life, and so extending the value of their life. This is present, as Federico said before. This is not future, this is happening.
Sorry, just, okay.
So BYD and we are like one of the biggest battery manufacturer in the world. So we know we have all the knowledge of battery. So normally the life cycle of battery is much longer than than vehicles. So for bus the total life of the bus is 15 years, but the battery is it's around 30 years if you charge one time per day. So after 15 years, so normally the capacity of the battery will be 50%. For bus, probably it's not enough to run the bus all day. And then so the solution is we use the second life of the battery. And one case we have in Brazil is in Brazil we have a peak hour and off-peak hour. So in peak hour, the price of the energy is 2 or 3 times than the off-peak hour. So we can use the battery to have a shift of the peak hour. So only 5 or 6 years, and we can have all the investment back. So there are lots of projects we are now working with some energy trading company, including Enel. We are also talking to them. I think only the utility company like Enel, they have interest to do this kind of investment.
So I know that this is all very interesting, and like Monica said at the beginning, we could stay here forever, but I'm afraid we can't. So we are going to go for the last question in the audience, and then of course we also have to give space to the many people that are following us through our live stream. So please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sergio. I'm from Bilbao in Spain, and my question is about private cars, because it is clear that they are major contributors to the pollution of a city. But if we want that most of the cars are going to be electric, we need a place to charge them. And at least in Spain, we have the problem that most of the people lives in flats or apartments. So I know that we will solve this problem, but I would like to know what is your vision about this issue. How can we solve that? How can we, charge the cars of people that live in flats and they don't have a place or a parking to charge them?
Yeah, it hasn't been a problem. I mean, if you look at Norway, they have what they argue is the building with the largest number of chargers. They figure out a solution. The engineers have the numbers. The main thing is that we cannot come to this saying we have a problem and we need to solve it for the whole country and then we'll do things, because nobody has done it like that. If you look at, for example, Amsterdam or Oslo, first they started with what they had and they grow the story. So in the case of, for example, Amsterdam, the municipality has been extremely important in putting chargers. So they call themselves the charging capital of the world. And Oslo calls itself the EV capital of the world, meaning that Oslo had a bigger success making the EVs grow as a consumer choice. And Amsterdam claims they have been the most successful in putting the largest amount of chargers per capita. But the point is that it's important to help people in Spain break that mindset of starting with this is a problem. And I think I just follow on what we heard from the Dutch colleague. I think in experience, of course, you will find the one case where it didn't work, or in Costa Rica, for example, there are a lot of buildings that are being built, and the architects still say I are not going to put chargers because we are 10 years away. So the person in my building refused to put the manager, because he told me, you are living part of the year outside Costa Rica. This is not happening. I'm not putting the chargers.
But in some countries, actually,
But
they made the law. For example, in UK,
yes.
from now on, you are.
Exactly.
You have to have a power station.
So you exactly. So you have to show both. You have to say, do you want to go this way where you don't believe this is happening? You think it's a problem. You think it's not going to work, or you go and look at the cases where they are already doing it. So, for example, I would encourage people in Spain to go and visit the one in Oslo, where you can see actually the most sophisticated building. You go downstairs; it's all full of small. Slow chargers and fast
Offices
chargers.
as well.
Huh?
Our fleet in the offices, for
In
example, in
offices.
Madrid, in Endesa, in our headquarters in Endesa.
And also in the streets.
We have the,
In the street, there are so many stories.
About Chile, but I would invite also people visiting Santiago, in which the new buildings, they have something different, which is embedded the cables, and that so is ready to wall box. So you don't have, so the architect, they have no arguments, because when you design a new building and you put the circuit and the cables, it's not a matter of money.
But
so
you
can decide afterwards whether to have your wall box or not. This is a solution made in Santiago, can be visited, is really, really easy. So obviously I'm talking about new buildings. So the problem in Spain, as the problem in Italy, is what can we do with the old buildings? There are other solutions. I mean, solutions there, we have a lot. You can, if you have the chance to stay here for the Formula E as well tomorrow, you can visit the E-Village, and in the stand of Enel, to which I invite you to visit, you will see the juice lamp. What is a pole for public lighting with a charger for electric vehicles. Is it the only answer? No, but this is an
one
answer.
of many. Yeah, exactly.
One of many.
Thanks.
So thank you. I believe we have someone actually from Argentina remotely asking us a question. And so we can close with Leandro, who is asking, what are the 3 main lessons learned from the Costa Rica Olympia experience, and which can be transferred to other countries in the region? So I think, Monica, this is the perfect conclusion of this gathering together. Go ahead.
Yes, so just to summarize, Costa Rica Olympia was born to bring citizens on board, citizens and consumers. So I will summarize it as, first, we had a vision and took it seriously and worked with technical people to make sure that vision didn't come across as as utopia. So we brought numbers, we showed it was doable, we showed that we didn't have to start from zero, because electricity was already renewable, and therefore electric mobility was a winner for a country like us. 2, we worked really hard with a congresswoman who was a champion. We worked with some people in the private sector, and we managed to put in place this, we built the support for a law that will make, that is the first one in Latin America, and it gives incentives for all kinds of electric mobility, public, private, bikes, motorbikes, cars, buses. And then the third is that we were very innovative as citizens, because we did not wait for the private sector of the government to do it first. In this case, you guys took the leading role. In our case, we had to be the citizens. And we feel heard, in the sense that now that there is a young president, he took our stories. You know, when you create a story and then others start embracing it, this is what happened. Now we have, 5 years later, a president who says we're going to go fossil-free. He's in Davos right now, you know, this big...
With the WEF.
The WEF. All the interviews he's done, he talks about a fossil-free country, we're going to do this. And somehow governments sometimes convince themselves that it's their idea, and it's fine. It happens all the time. We have to get them to own it. But the point for the person who asked is that you have to work with users. This is the new frontier. You have to bring users on board and create those experiences. Just putting numbers and graphs, even the technologies by themselves are not the story. The story is the experience. And I think that is something we could think about as we finish. What is the best experience that each of us can offer, can create, can share? And I think that is where I see a lot of space for excitement. And in the end, it's about having happier lives.
And actually, said that in many countries right now, everyone is talking about e-mobility, and us in Italy, we are second in trend topic. Argentina is going mad as well, Brazil. So really, I think we really made something special today, no? Speaking about it and let everyone else doing it with us. So now I will actually call to the floor Roberto De Ambrogio, our Director of Communications. And
thank you.
And he will help us to wrap up the event.
Yes.
It's going to be tough since there is so much
that
on
we
the table.
Today. Thanks, Isabella. Thanks, Monica and Simone, for their interesting presentation. To all of you for the engaging debate. I have to start saying that I'm very passionate about this topic. I'm a big fan of e-mobility, so therefore I may be biased, but I'm happy to be so. And we should all be, very conscious that this is a very important topic. Seriously speaking, few final considerations. The first one, again, we've said it many times, I wanted to repeat it. E-mobility is today, is now. We cannot wait, it's not the future. This is something that we have to do it now, not just for technology development progress, we've discussed about this. These are good things, but for health. And again, it's a joyful day today, happy meeting. I don't want to scare you and be terrifying, but a couple of statistics. The first one is that the main statistics says that there are around 3 million people globally, 3 million premature deaths due to air pollution. So, more or less half of Santiago every year that, are dying because of air pollution. So it's a matter of health. It's a matter of the future. And again, I want not be too poetic here, but it's for us, for our kids, for a better future. And this is something fundamental. I think a lot of institutions and a lot of governments have understood this. Maybe somebody, a few thousand miles north has not understood this, but I would say that the majority of the institutions really understood this and are pushing for this. I just want to mention the United Nations, right? You know that they have Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. 2 of them are taking care of this problem of air pollution. Then there is the Paris Agreement. So, the world is moving, luckily, I would say, not towards this direction. There is a lot that we have to do still, but, this is very, very important. This is the first point. Second point is technology. We discussed about this. The technology is there, is going to improve faster than we think. And I always make the comparison with renewables. We discussed about renewables before, right? And I worked for 12 years, I would say, in renewables, and we started back in 2005 about photovoltaic. Again, it was similar to what our guest from NISA was saying. Everybody was saying, you're crazy, you talk about photovoltaic, it's a niche product, you'll never get there. In 10 years, the price of the photovoltaic went down 90%. So now it's 1/10 of what is the price that was the price 10 years ago. And this is not to put pressure on our guests and friends of BYD and Nissan, but this will happen. And the output, the cost per unit will go, and the price per unit will go down and down very significant. So we are there. And relative to technology, we mentioned it, and I don't want to go, to spend too much time on this, even if it's a very important topic. It's not just mobility. It's to have batteries on wheels. Then you have vehicle to grid. So when you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of cars, you don't need thermal generation as a backup, oil, fuel plant, but you have just cars that are plugged in, that are idle. 80–90% of the time of the cars, electric cars, or in general of cars, is an idle, is idle moments, right? So can be plugged in, and they can be batteries to support the grid, to give capacity, and also to help, and again, without going too technical, but to help on the frequency, to stabilize the frequency, right? And this is vehicle to home also. So you don't need to buy a photovoltaic and then a battery, but then you buy the photovoltaic plant, which cost 1/10 of 10 years ago. Then you plug in your car, and when you need the energy when there is no sun, so in the evening when you're back home, then you use your car. So this is really changing the way of living of all of us. It's very important that we're discussing about really, and it was mentioned before, a revolution. It's not just a small change. You don't drive a internal combustion engine, but just electric. Really changing the way we will live in the future. Third point, economically speaking, this is something very important, and I go back to this point. Sustainability is becoming more and more economically viable. So you can make money, you can save money, being an industrial player, being an automotive player, based on electric mobility, because we've seen the numbers. And this will go down and down. So again, in the future, and I'm very optimistic on this, given that the price will go down, the cost will go down, there will be a natural push versus this. Because even the more, against, and as we said, the climate change and electric mobility and air pollution are going, the same, hopefully will go more and more, but are going in the same direction. But even those people that don't believe in this, they will say, we go electric for public or for private because it costs less. And so, I'm very, very optimistic on the future. And also I want to make a bet, that we'll meet here 3 years down the road or 5 years on the road, and I'll offer all of you a dinner, even for the even most aggressive projections in terms of costs or in terms of how common will be the electric cars if they are not beaten. So I'm sure, and again, going back to renewables, these statistics will be beaten because it will be faster than we think. People are changing their mind and the technology is there. Last point I want to touch, and we touch it, and I think it's very important, is the customer experience. This is very important. No? We have here 2 professional pilots. We are not, I love cars, but I'm not a professional pilot. But, the experience is good. We have to push and also to tell all of us, how good it is to take, I drive an electric car, and it's fun. And if you go in an electric bus, you're happy. I mean, it's also, this is important. It's not just a matter, it's cool. It's right, but it's not just a matter of being cool or being trendy, right?
No, but it's enjoyable.
Fun. Then
yeah,
you
exactly.
push, and you push the accelerator, it goes fast. And then you go in an electric bus, and you don't feel, and everything is new, is branded, is connected, so it's good. I think this is another, and again, I told you that I'm very optimistic and bullish on this, but this is something really that can really change the way that people approach, because it's fun, it's good, it's not just for health, and again, it's fundamental, it's not just for the technological progress, but also for this. No? The experience is particularly amazing, and therefore, I'm very optimistic on this. So to conclude, thanks again for everything. I really hope that you enjoyed the meeting as I enjoyed it, and I really think that these meetings are useful, and I really urge you really to, I would say, to spread the word, because I really believe it, not because this is the future, and we can really change the world, having more and more mobility, private, public, or any kind of mobility for the future to come. Thank you.
Thank you. And, Roberto, can I just take the opportunity to thank also the people that is following us through our live stream, of course, and to say that definitely in 3 years we're going to be here, but also next year, because the COP25 in January. So again, for the 3rd time in the row, we will be in Santiago. We can already say that. But last but not least, next step is going to be Colombia. So stay tuned. It's going to be in a month, and so more is yet to come. So thank you all. And last thing, let's all have a selfie. No? So let's move here and have all selfie together, and say goodbye to everyone, and see you very soon. Shall I do it? Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes.
So shall we say e-mobility? E-mobility.
E-mobility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.